All right, let's dive right in. Today we're tackling Plato's Charmides. We're going to try to unpack his perspective on temperance, and I think this dialogue is a really fun way to approach it. What do you think?
Oh, absolutely. It's classic Plato. Instead of just giving us a definition, he throws us right into the heart of a debate. That's what makes this dialogue so engaging, don't you think?
Totally. It's like we're right there in ancient Athens listening in on a philosophical discussion. So picture this. Socrates is back in town and heads to a gymnasium to catch up with some friends.
Yeah, and that's where they run into the super handsome Charmides.
And Plato really emphasizes how strikingly good-looking Charmide is. You get this sense that everyone, even Socrates, is a bit captivated, almost like a little starstruck.
Yeah, there's definitely this fun, almost fanboy energy in the room, which is
It's
interesting.
like Plato's subtly reminding us that even the greatest philosophers can't resist a little bit of charm. But amidst all this admiration, the conversation shifts to something much deeper, the nature of temperance, or sophrosyne, as it's called in Greek.
Right, and it all begins with a seemingly simple question. What exactly is temperance? Charmides, in his attempt to define it, suggests that it's about being quiet and orderly, like keeping things calm and controlled.
Which, on the surface, seems to make sense. I mean, we often associate virtue with composure and being level-headed, but then Plato throws in a curveball.
Oh yeah, Socrates, always up for a good challenge, jumps in and points out that speed and agility are often more desirable qualities in many areas of life. Like, think about a skilled athlete or a student who picks things up quickly. Being quiet isn't really their defining characteristic, is it?
That's a really good point. So if temperance isn't just about being quiet and subdued, then what else could it be? Charmides then proposes that maybe it's actually modesty.
And that's where Plato throws in this amazing little nugget. Socrates brings up a quote from Homer. Modesty is not good for a needy man. And suddenly, this seemingly simple virtue gets a whole lot more complicated. It's not always beneficial, you see. It really depends on the situation.
So we have these two definitions, and Socrates has expertly demonstrated that neither one is quite hitting the mark. What happens next? Does anyone else come up with a definition that can withstand Socrates' scrutiny?
Well, Critias, clearly wanting to impress, jumps into the discussion. He confidently asserts that temperance is all about doing one's own business. It sounds pretty simple at first glance, right?
I have a feeling Socrates isn't going to let him off that easy, though.
Oh, you know Socrates. He's like a dog with a bone when it comes to analyzing an argument. He immediately challenges Critias' definition by bringing up the example of craftsmen. They create things for other people, so does that mean they aren't being temperate?
That's a great point. It seems like Critias might need to refine his definition a little bit. How does he respond to that challenge?
Critias, kind of realizing his initial definition is a little too simple, takes a step back and offers a more nuanced explanation. He clarifies that doing one's own business isn't just about keeping to yourself. It's about doing what's good, what's beneficial, what aligns with your true purpose, right?
Ah, I see. So it's not just about the action itself, but the underlying intention, like whether it contributes to something bigger than yourself. That makes a lot more sense.
Exactly. It's about understanding your role, like your own unique contribution. But here's where the dialogue takes an even deeper turn. Socrates, being the brilliant mind that he is, brings up a question that gets to the heart of ethics, to morality even.
Okay, now I'm really intrigued. What's this bombshell Socrates throws in?
Well, he suggests that even if we figure out our purpose, even if we understand what Critias means by doing one's own business, there's still this big piece of the puzzle that's missing.
And what's that?
How do we know if that purpose, that business we're doing, is actually good? How can we tell if it's truly beneficial? Could this even require a whole different type of knowledge, like a separate science of good and evil?
Whoa, you're right. That's a pretty big question to consider. It's like saying, okay, we have the map and the compass, but how do we know if we're even heading in the right direction?
Exactly. And this question just sends these ripples through the entire dialogue. It challenges the whole idea that it's easy to separate right from wrong, the beneficial from the harmful.
I'm definitely feeling that familiar Plato-induced mental swirl. It's like he's purposely taking us down one path only to reveal that there are so many other paths branching out everywhere. So, does the dialogue offer any solutions? Does Socrates, the master of inquiry, ultimately unveil the true meaning of temperance?
And this is the interesting part. He doesn't. The dialogue ends without a nice and tidy definition.
Really? So they go through all this philosophical exploration, examining all these different aspects of temperance, and we're left without a concrete answer.
That's the beauty of it. See, Plato isn't trying to spoon-feed us a prepackaged definition. He's encouraging us to engage in this process of inquiry ourselves, to really grapple with these ideas. Remember, Socrates considered himself a gadfly, someone who provokes others to question their beliefs, and Plato captures that spirit perfectly in this dialogue.
So it's more about the journey of exploration than reaching a specific destination.
Absolutely. The Charmides isn't about dictating what we should think, but rather about teaching us how to think. It's a reminder that the pursuit of knowledge is continuous, that true wisdom is in constantly examining what we think we know, even about core virtues like temperance.
I love that. It's like Plato saying, hey, don't take things for granted. Dig deeper, ask the tough questions, and just embrace this intellectual adventure.
And what's really fascinating is how he weaves this profound exploration into what seems like a simple conversation at a gymnasium. You have this captivating character, Charmides, and then there's Socrates with his sharp intellect leading the discussion.
It's almost like a philosophical detective story with all these twists and turns that keep you engaged until the very end. But if we don't get a clear definition of temperance, what are we meant to take away from the Charmides? What's the purpose of all this intellectual wrestling?
That's an excellent question, and I think it leads back to this central theme running through the dialogue, the concept of self-knowledge.
Self-knowledge. Yeah, we've touched on that a few times already, but how does it actually relate to temperance?
Well, Socrates suggests that real temperance, might not be about following strict rules or sticking to some external definition. It might actually be about truly understanding ourselves, like our strengths, our weaknesses, even our tendencies, right?
Right, right.
Knowing ourselves could be the key to achieving that sense of balance, that inner harmony that we connect with temperance.
Makes me think of that inscription at Delphi, Know Thyself. It's like Plato's drawing on that ancient wisdom, showing us that it's not just a cool saying, but a deep idea with real implications for how we live.
You got it. And remember, that inscription wasn't just some philosophical thought experiment. It was a core part of Greek culture and thinking. It highlights the significance of introspection, of looking inward to understand who we really are.
Okay, so if we can't easily define temperance by making a list of behaviors, how do we actually cultivate it in our lives? What steps can we take on this journey of self-discovery?
That's the tricky part, right? The Charmides doesn't give us a step-by-step guide, but it definitely offers some useful insights. Since temperance is linked to self-knowledge, the first step is to develop that self-awareness, I guess.
Yeah.
To honestly look at our habits, our reactions, the things that we're drawn to and the things we shy away from. It's all about asking those tough questions. Why do I react in this way? What are my triggers? What are my blind spots?
Like holding up a mirror to ourselves, which can be a little scary, to be honest.
It can be, for sure, but it's also incredibly freeing. Because once we understand those patterns, the deeply ingrained tendencies, we get the power to make different choices, to respond thoughtfully instead of just reacting impulsively, to make decisions that reflect our values even when we're tempted or things are tough.
So it's like we're taking control of our inner world, becoming the designers of our own character. And that, to me, really captures the essence of temperance. It's not about blindly obeying rules, but about having that inner guidance system that leads us toward balance and harmony.
I like that. That's a really great way to put it. I think that's ultimately what Plato wants us to wrestle with in the Charmides. He's not handing us all the answers, but he's giving us the questions. He's giving us the tools, the tools of critical thinking so we can start our own journeys of self-discovery.
Wow, this has been an amazing deep dive, from a chance meeting at a gym to these deep questions about what it means to be human. Plato, you've done it again. You've left us with more questions than answers, but you've also given us this renewed sense of curiosity and a deeper understanding of ourselves. Thanks for joining us on this philosophical adventure, and a huge thank you to you, our expert, for being such a brilliant guide.
It's been my pleasure. I always enjoy exploring these timeless ideas and seeing how they connect with our lives today. Until next time.